Welcome back to my channel. I am coming at you today with a little bit of a series of sorts. It's a series within one video. And I've gotten a lot of questions about doing back to basics videos, meaning talking about things that maybe I assume everyone knows that maybe they don't know. And so I have a lot of different kind of ideas. Maybe this will be a series, back to basics. A lot of different ideas to do videos on, but the first one that I wanted to do was how to smoke out your lower lash line. I know I talk about it all the time because it's something I do every single day. I just don't feel complete unless I do it. And I know I say that all the time in my videos, and a lot of y'all have asked questions about what do I find the best way to do it, the easiest way. So I have compiled 4 different different ways to do your lower lash line. I've done them in 4 different days. So I'm gonna have different makeup, different clothes, everything. I've been doing this for a while, compiling it. And it's 4 different ways that you could possibly smoke out your lower lash line. These are not the only ways, but these are the ways that I personally do that the most. I do understand that some of these are very basic and some people might say we've known this for years, but I'm doing this for the people who may not know how to do it. So you may not find anything helpful and you may be completely helped from this video. But I really did just want to break it down and show you the easiest ways I find to smoke out my lower lash line. So if you want to see the 4 different ways, then just keep on watching. All right, so we are at day 1. This is gonna be the easiest, simplest. It's gonna be the one that's like, really, Mandy, why are you showing us this? But it is the one that I do most often, so I had to include it. And also just to tell you kind of the looks that I choose to do this with. So today I only have 2 eyeshadows on. I wanted something, fairly natural for the eyes. I don't typically go all out crazy with my eye looks anyways, which if y'all follow me for any amount of time, you know this. But today I just used a color in the crease and then I put with my finger just a little bit of a shimmer color on my lid. So I was working out of this, which I have to do a shout out for this. One of my lovely subscribers sent this to me as a Christmas present. And I love it. It's from Salt, New York. I know a lot of people got it in PR, but it's a kind of wallet looking palette. So you open it, it's got a mirror, and then you can put any of your loose individual products that you want. So I worked out of this today, and my crease color was a ColourPop color called Labyrinth. So it's this really pretty, just pinkish color. And typically when I will just do one color really blown out on my lower lash line, I will choose the color that I put in my crease, or at least the lightest color that I put in the crease. Sometimes I'll mix them depending on how dark I want to go, but when I just use 2 colors on my eyes like I have today, I don't want to go any darker than I have on my upper lid because then the balance will be off. So the easiest thing to do is just to use what I used in my crease. So I'm going to take a little bit of a fatter brush, and this is the Beautycounter crease brush, and it's a little bit bigger than my Wayne Goss number 20 that I also love. But when I'm only using a lighter one color on my lower lash line, sometimes I want it to be super blown out, and for that I will use a little bit of a bigger brush. So that's when I'm going to do that. I'm going to go into that Labyrinth color, kind of load up the brush, tap off any excess, because if any fall down is going to happen, it's going to happen when you're working on your lower lash line. And really just I start out here and I do the same kind of windshield wiper motion that I did in my crease. Now, I lay it down like this because I want the color to come down a little bit farther. I like a smoky, smoky under eye. If you don't, you can either A, use a smaller, more precise brush, or you can put it like this to where you are not getting anything but what's on the tip of the brush. I want what's all over the brush, so I'm gonna lay it on its side like this. You can look up to the ceiling if you want, like that. You can close your eye like this. I will say when you close your eye, you do tend to go a little bit lower because there's something about it that kind of pushes the brush down. So if you're wanting to stay in a pretty precise, thinner line, you're probably just gonna wanna look up. So I just go back and forth until I get the desired smokiness that I want. And my kind of what should I say? What's the word I'm looking for? I have no idea. I've been losing my words lately, y'all. That's a sign of getting old, I know. The place where I know to stop. What is that word? I'm trying to say limit, but that's not it. Anyways, is where those, you know, we all have those really fine lines underneath. So kind of where that stops, which on me is the extent of the bags under my eyes. Now I know a lot of us have different under eyes. I have more darkness than I have bags. So where the puffiness ends is what I'm trying to say. Right there under my eyelids, kind of the limit that I want to stop with my color. So if you can tell the difference between this eye and this eye, I personally, and not everybody's going to think this, think that a smoked out under eye balances the look, makes it look more complete, and I personally think it makes the eye look bigger. You may have totally different opinions, and there are going to be a couple of options that I do that's not the case, but when I just put a color under like this and make the ring of shadow even bigger and more complete and more full circle, I feel like it just makes the look better. Once I've done the other side, I like to pull the mirror away from me just to make sure that they are pretty even on each side. Now, I do highly recommend doing this before your mascara. The brush will easily get caught in the mascara in your eyelashes if you've done it before, and kind of clump your eyelashes together when you don't want that to happen. So I always recommend doing this before you put on your lower lash mascara. So that is my everyday lower lash line smoked out look after I've got the mascara on. It kind of evens everything out as well. All right, we're back for day 2. Today we're going to do a little more dramatic with our lower lash line. In fact, I believe this is going to be the most dramatic that I go anyways. This is where we're going to be applying an eyeliner in the waterline as well as smudging it out on the lower lash line. So it's going to provide a very smoky eye effect. This is something that will somewhat close up your eyes. So if you have super rounded eyes and you want something really glamorous, it might be something you want to try. If you have really small eyes, this is not going to make them look bigger. It's not to say you can't do it. It's just something that probably you should be aware of if you've never done it before. It will possibly make your eyes look even smaller. So we are going to start, and I'm going to try an eyeliner that I've never tried in the waterline before because, you know, that makes sense to do on camera. Today I used my Urban Decay Born to Run palette, and I used predominantly 2 colors. I used Still Shot in the crease, and then this color right here, this really pretty purple, it's called Guilt Trip. I just packed that all over the lid. Now I did not put a base underneath Guilt Trip, so it's not super like dark and smoky, but it's smoky enough to warrant putting this in the waterline. And when I say that, it means like if I was wearing something like I had on in yesterday's footage, that to me does not warrant putting something in the waterline, at least not a dark color, because it just would not be balanced out. I did not have a dark enough color on the lid to justify that, in my opinion. So we are going to start with this color from Bare Minerals, and it is the Round the Clock Intense Cream Glide Eyeliner, waterproof, in the color purple. Cannot find a color on it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I am just going to put this in my waterline, and I am not going to worry if some of it gets on my lower lash line. In fact, I want a little bit of it too. So I'm going to not only put it in my waterline, but I'm also going to concentrate it kind of in between my lashes on the lower lash line so that a little bit comes down on my lower lash line. Another time you're going to want to not do your mascara until after you have finished this. Okay, so that went on very, very, very easily. Now I'm going to take more of a dense brush, something like this is the Instapop crease brush from Real Techniques, and I'm going to go into my crease color again, and I'm going to take this color right here, Still Shot. I'm going to pack it on this. Now, the reason I said I wanted it to be a little bit more dense, if I were to take a very fluffy brush underneath my eye right now, it would not blend out that eyeliner color that got on my lower lash line. It would be too fluffy to do that. So this one is actually blending it out, as you can see, where it's kind of making a gradient effect. So the majority of the pigment is still in that waterline, but we're blending some of that purple down. Now, I'm going to do it on the other eye real quick, and then I'm going to show you the next step. Now, I am going to take more of a fluffy brush at this stage because I have put that still shot color that we have in my crease on the brush, but really and truly, the brush just served the purpose of smoking that and smudging that purple out. So now I do want to go in with a little bit of that color. So I am going to transfer over to a more lighter packed brush, and I'm going to go kind of underneath all the way down at the bottom of where that purple is smudged out, because I want this color to show through. So that's where you really get, I don't know if you're going to be able to see, but you've got that still shot color right there, and it gradiates, is that the right word I'm talking about? Transfers into the darker color. Now, if I were to use a very dense brush for this step, I would put too much color on. I really just want this to kind of buff out any harsh edges I have on the bottom of that purple and have that still shot color peek through just a little bit. Just like that. So that is a very intense smoked out lash line. All right, so went ahead and applied some lower lash mascara, and that is the completed eye look all around. It's got a full circle of that purple color, but a very dramatic lower lash line, which really lends itself to a very night glam look. So hopefully you enjoyed this one. Now let's go on to day 3. Okay, so today is going to be kind of a little bit of the middle of day 1 and day 2. So it's not going to be as light as day 1, but it's not going to be as dramatic as day 2. So we are going to go into the palette that I used today, which was the Charlotte Tilbury Stars in Your Eyes palette. And what I did was I used this color in the crease, and then I used this color on the lid, and then I used this darkest color right over here, this like purple color, on the outer V, just a little bit. So when I smoke out my lower lash line like I'm about to do, I will still use the colors that I used on my upper lash line, but I'm going to use 2 colors this time. And I'm going to start using the darkest color that we used. And typically I always will go in with whatever I used on my outer V. If I did not use anything on my outer V, I will only do the one color like I did on day 1. But since we did darken up the look a little bit today, I'm going to darken up the lower lash line to help balance that out. So I'm going to take a very small, this is the Delium Tools 760, and it is a tiny little detail brush. And I'm going to load up this darker purple, tap it off, and I'm going to get very close to my lash line, essentially making this like a liner. But we're not going in the waterline because I don't want it to be that dramatic. I want to line my lower lash line with that color. So I am stopping about halfway, about right here, halfway under my eye. I don't want to take it all the way in because that, again, makes it more smoky looking. And I just want to deepen it a little bit. So that's where I'm going to stop. I do want to make sure that I connect that liner with that upper lash line so that there are no gaps. So to add just a little bit more smokiness, but to also kind of blur that darker color out just a bit, I'm going to go back into that color that I used in the crease right here on my Wayne Goss number 20 brush. Continue to do what I did basically on day 1. So I am buffing out the harshness of that line, but I'm still keeping some of that color. So it basically deepens up the crease a little bit and makes the color under your lash line comparable to the color right there on your eye where your crease color and outer V meets. I am going to take this color almost all the way in. So it's so much so that if you really have to look at it to see that first color that we applied but there's a difference between today and the first day from just applying that little bit of a darker color. It just makes the gradient and the ombre effect a little bit more intense, again, to match it up with the upper lash line. All right, so I applied my lower lash mascara, and that finishes up this look. So this is the kind of look that I would do maybe for like an afternoon get together, or if I'm working and I want to look a little bit more dramatic than just an everyday look, but I don't want to look full on smoky with waterline, eyeliner, and everything else. So it's kind of, again, a combination of day 1 and day 2. So we're 3 days in. We got 1 more to go. I'll see you in a second on day 4. Okay guys, we are on day 4, and today is going to be, I think, the most fun day, because this is where we're going to do a little bit of a pop of color, which is the last option I'm going to show you as to how you can work with your lower lash line. I don't do this a ton, but when I find a color that I really like in a palette that I know I'll probably never put all over the top of my lid, I will a lot of times use it in this way so that it's more wearable. It's not as scary for people who aren't used to working with color, but it's still fun. So when I do this kind of look, I typically go pretty natural on the lid. So today I just did a crease color, a little bit of a cream shadow, and then a pop of color on top. So it's a little bit sparkly. I want to stay in the same color range. So I have like rose golds on my lid. So I'm going to stay in the pinky purple ranges on the bottom. You don't always have to do this, but I like to at least stay in the cool tones or the warm tones. The only time when I would change that, or when I have changed that in the past, is where I'll do like a really pretty copper warm lid and I'll do a bright blue on my lower lash line. In that case, I'm doing warms and cools, but for today, I'm going to stay in the cool realm of things. So I use the Charlotte Tilbury palette for the top of my lids, and I'm going to use the Born to Run for the bottom. And I'm going to use this really pretty color called Wild Heart right down here. I hope it's coming across. It's like how would you explain that color? Right down here. I have a little helper with me today. What would you say that color's like? Purple? Purple? Kind of. It's kind of like a pinky purple, right? Okay. So it's a pinky purple. It's got a little bit of a shimmer to it. I don't always put shimmer on my lower lash line, but when I use color, a lot of times it does tend to be a shimmer, and I like that as well. So we are going to start off actually using a base. I rarely also do this on my lower lash line, and it's not something you have to do when you do a pop of color, but I want to show you the option. So I'm going to use this Armani eye tint in the number 27 Sunset. It's one of my very favorites, and it is very similar to the color that I want to work with anyway. So I'm going to put a little bit on my hand like that, and I'm going to take a pencil brush, dip it into the color, and then put that on my lower lash line, starting from the outer corner to about 3/4 of the way in, because we're going to do something a little bit different on the inner corner. Again, you don't have to do this, but I'm just showing you all the options. You can also just do the cream eyeshadow color as well. But for today, it's just going to be a base. I love this color, and it's going to help that other color, which is called Wild Heart, that we're going to use, stick a little bit better. So I'm going to take another pencil brush. You could use that same one, but it's now got a wet shadow, and I don't want it to compromise the formula of the powder. So I'm going to take a separate one. And I'm going to dip it into the Wild Heart color, really tap off the excess, and top that base that we put down. Pretty. I hope it's coming across. Can you tell? You see the color? Do you like it? Yeah. The base is also helping prevent any fallout because it's grabbing onto that color the second I apply it. Now, this is a color that I would wear all over my lid, but I think that it is also a really pretty accent color for the lower lash line. I really like that. Okay, so for this inner lash line, the base color, the cream shadow that I used underneath my lid color is the Stila Cream Glitter and, it's not Glitter and Glow. It's the Shimmer and Glow in Kitten. And so I'm going to put a little bit of this. I think I'm almost out of it, but I'm going to see if I can get any put some on my hand as well. I'm going to take another pencil brush. I have a lot of pencil brushes. Again, you can use the same one if you wash it in between. And I'm going to take it down right on that inner corner over to where we stopped with the pink color. Just going to add even more shimmer to the lower lash line. But again, it's a base because I'm going to go in with the Marc Jacobs shadow in Primo and top that base. So you're basically, this is the same color that I used on my inner corner, and you're basically just extending that out to where that pink color ended. So hopefully the lights are not too bright. I don't have a very good light situation going on. Do you like that under my eyes? Can you tell the colors there? I like it. It's a nice pop. This is a good palette to pick pops of colors from though, because it has a really pretty teal. It's got a pretty purple. It's got a really pretty vibrant copper that would be really pretty as a lower lash line color. Lots to choose from in this palette, but I really like that Wild Heart color. I think it suits blue eyes, but it would also be really good for green and brown eyes. This is the kind of color that makes all eye colors pop, in my opinion. So I just put some lower lash mascara, so that completes the look with a little bit of a pop of color on the lower lash line with a little bit more of a natural look on the upper lash line. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you enjoyed this entire 4-day series and maybe learned something you didn't know. I know some of the stuff was like, yeah, I already knew this, but for the beginners out there, hopefully it was helpful. So as always, be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day.